you may begin.
Now, Jesus came down to the world not just to save one people, not just to save the Jews, but to save all peoples. Now, this is an important message, and what I am going to speak to you today about is the outreach towards Muslims and the religion of Islam. Now, there are three ways in which this can be done, or three reasons why it's needed, rather. You have the first reason being that God obviously came down to save everyone, and God loves everyone. The second reason is the fact that Christianity and Islam actually have some very core similarities. And the third reason being the statistics are heavily in favor of Christianity, especially if we can outreach to these Muslim groups. Now, my first point is that God loves everyone. God did not come down just to save the Jews. It is said that, I believe Jesus himself said this, in fact, that why would you send a doctor to a person who is well, to a person who's doing just fine? You would send the doctor to a person who is sick. Now, God came down, he came down for all of us. He came down for the murderers. He came down for the thieves. He came down for the adulterers. He came down for the Gentiles, which is us. This group of people also includes the Islam, the religion of Islam. Now, as you may have heard, people all around are spouting the propaganda of Islam is the religion of peace. This is not true. In fact, in the Quran, there are many teachings where it says to kill the infidels. In fact, in the Quran, chapter 2, verses 191 through 192, it states how go and find infidels wherever you may find them, and kill them, and slaughter them. For fitna is worse than killing, and fitna is essentially letting them go on with their false religion in their eyes. So in the Quran it is directly teaching these people to go out and kill the infidels, which is our people, anyone who does not believe in Islam. This raises a high security threat to us, because if there's a religion that goes out and openly preaches to kill, then that would obviously pose some kind of threat to your safety. So the Bible, on the other hand, tells us that we should love everyone. And even if they say hit us in one side of the cheek, to turn the other cheek and let them hit us again. The Bible tells us to love, and especially those who would want to hurt us. Now, given the fact that even Islam is a religion of hatred and war, we move on to my second point, which is the fact that the statistics heavily outweigh in our favor. Now, as you would see on your handout, 33% of the world belongs to the religion of Christianity. Now, some of these are groups that Lutherans ourselves would not associate with Christianity, such as Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses. But according to the study on your handout, 33% of the world is Christian. 21% of the world is Muslim. Now, this makes them the second largest world religion. And say if we were to outreach to these people, and if we were even able to get just half of them to convert to Christianity, Christianity would make up nearly half of the world's population as far as world religion goes. Now, this brings me to my third point. Why would these people want to join us? Why would these people want to join us when they're a religion of hatred and they preach hate against infidels? Now, this brings the point of the similarity between Christianity and Islam. Now, where Islam is a religion of hate and Christianity is a religion of peace, the two actually coincide at a core belief which is called a theistic worldview. Now, this theistic worldview is essentially the fact where we believe that a God created the earth, and since creation, he has been involved with the earth. So, Islam and Christianity can both agree on this one thing. There is one core difference between the two, however. With Islam, their God is now detached from the world as preached in the Quran. They do not care, or he does not care, Allah does not care about his people. The only way that you can assuredly get to their version of heaven is to die a martyr, to die in battle. Otherwise, you're left guessing whether you might make it or not, because ultimately Allah decides. But Allah is far off from the world. So then you have Christianity on the other hand, which says that God is actively involved in the world, and he's a loving God. So, in fact, several Muslims who have already converted to Christianity have said that Islam is a religion of hate and melancholy and sadness, and Christianity is so much more warm and welcoming that it's such a relief after conversion when you realize all of the good that there is in the world. So, as you can see, there are many reasons in which we should outreach to these people. And I think it would be very good to outreach to them and bring them into the faith. Now, imagine if we were able to even reach out to half of these people. Imagine a full world full of Christianity, almost 50% of the world, giving us a lot more pressure in the world for Christianity. So, I hope that you can go out and support your local missionary groups or even faraway missionary groups. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Give them a round of applause. Okay, don't sit down yet. We need you to do Q&A for us. Okay, so gentleman and lady, if there are any questions that you have about his presentation, you can go ahead and ask those now.
In your first point, you said something about a footnote.
A fitna.
Or fitnot. What was that?
A fitna means basically dealing with, what's the word? Tolerating, essentially. Any other questions? Zach?
You talked about a lot about the outreach, and I was just kind of wondering, what types of outreach do you think could be used?
Well, such as missionaries that say go out into foreign countries and preach the word of God. But even if you say have a Muslim neighbor, or there's a Muslim that you know that happens to be in your area, just reaching out to him or her and bringing them into your household and feeding them and being a good guest, and then ultimately preaching to them the good word of our Lord. Any other questions? Jonah?
I'm just wondering why you emphasized Christianity reaching Muslims as opposed to the other religious groups, or?
Well, mostly because of the two very basic similarities, which are the theistic worldview, the one basic similarity I should say, and this really gives a big tie together, and also the fact that they, when people who are openly preaching about hate and they're living in ultimately a sad, gray world come into and see the Christianity view of things where it's bright and colorful and there's love and all that, I think that would be easier than, say, reaching out to an atheist who might be stubborn in his ways and relying on science for everything, or say a Hindu pantheistic believer where they don't have the hatred side, so they don't exactly have a they aren't, I'm trying to think of the word, sorry, they aren't as willing to come over to Christianity, because they already have something that suffices them in their needs and wants. Any other questions?
Nothing else? Okay, then let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much.